We're set up for failure. From the moment we're born, our parents predominantly influence us and guide us on our route through life. They show and they share with us how to conduct ourselves, offer positive reinforcement when we do something good, and they offer negative reinforcement when we do something bad. One of the big moments in a human being's life is when we start attending school, when we begin our education. This is most likely one of, if not the first time, that we are separated from our parents and we are told that someone that we do not know, someone outside of our immediate family, is going to show us how to be a proper person, is going to teach us the things that we know, is going to teach us how to be for the rest of our lives, effectively. K through 12 are formative years. They're important. They're when you start getting information, you start wanting to explore the world more and more, which is one of the reasons why when we're younger, we love to do outdoor classes, because it's a change of pace from just sitting in the same four walls that are usually uncolored in neat and orderly rows and columns with everyone else. However, where I really see us starting to fail in how we're setting people up is when we get into our high school years. So 9 through 12. I had an economics class when I was in high school. And I thought, okay, cool. I'm going to have the opportunity before I actually become an adult to understand what some of these responsibilities and what some of these decisions will actually look like long term. I'll be able to understand how to approach buying a car, or paying a mortgage on a house, or saving long term, putting money aside for if you want to take a vacation or treat yourself to a new device. Maybe you want a new phone, new TV, whatever it ends up being. And then my entire class proceeded to be the same worksheets, just 2 weeks behind of what I was doing in my algebra class at the time. Same worksheets. And a lot of them had some level of relevance, very big air quotes. They had some level of relevance in terms of, you put this amount of money into a bank, it gets interest with this frequency at this rate, what's the total value that you have at the end? And at first I went, why should I do this? I've already done it in another class. There's no point to me doing it twice. And then after an argument with my dad, it was, okay, I'll do the work even though I think it's ridiculous. So I just knocked out the worksheets, turned it into the teacher. And he came back and he said, I'd like for you to look over this again. Make sure that your answers are right. I said, okay, I'll do that. Looked over everything, literally double-checked and double-did my math. Everything looks good. I brought it back up. I turned it into him. He was sitting at his desk and he said, why do you have this back to me? I said, I reviewed over it. Excuse me. I've reviewed over it. I'm confident in my answers. I'm submitting my work. And he said, no, no, no. You didn't take long enough. Take longer. Keep working on it. So I went back, sat down, and just sat there for the rest of the class, because what else was I supposed to do? In the class, I turned it in because he had everyone pass their sheets up. End of the day, I ended up getting 100 on it, or whatever it ended up being. This trend continues, and then one day he gives us another interest bank account related worksheet, and I go, okay, these, frequencies and percentages are a little bit crazy, but sure, I know I've done my math right, and I turned it in. Again, teacher took a look, brought it back to me, and he said, I think you should check your answers on this again. Some of them don't look right to me. I went, okay, I'll check my answers. I did, and the same thing. I went to go turn it in again, and he says, why are you back? And I said, well, I've checked my answers and I'm turning this in. He looks over it with him and I standing there, and he says, these are some big numbers. Do it again. Well, yes, they're big numbers because that's the frequency and the percentage that you gave me. This was the third or fifth time that this had happened, so I took a picture with all of my work and all of my answers on there, front and back of the worksheet, and I brought it home and I showed my dad, and I said, did I do anything here wrong? Do you see anything that's incorrect with these answers? Because the teacher keeps sending me back to look at things again, because I'm completing these quickly. And his only remark was, outside of the fact that these are outrageously fast returns and high percentages, no, your answers look correct. Why? What did your teacher have an issue with? The values are too big. And my dad and I are sitting there with the same thought of just, well, no, duh, they're too big, because it's compounded monthly at almost double-digit percentage. No, duh. Where am I going with this? Because that was a very long story that I'm sure no one wanted to hear, but I feel that it's relevant for where I'm going. A year later, I started applying to colleges after this happened. A year later. And I started looking at everything, and at first I didn't care to go to college. I said, it's just high school too. There's no point in me doing this. I'm not going to get anything out of it. And on the other side of that right now, I will say I was both right and wrong. I absolutely was. I was correct to a degree in my present beliefs that college was not going to be beneficial for me. But I was incorrect because it was beneficial for me in ways that I did not previously see or understand. They weren't in my field of vision. When I started applying for colleges, I started seeing, oh, this is expensive. Very expensive. And I didn't have an idea for that. Thankfully, I was very, very, very blessed and very fortunate. My grandparents had been putting away money since I was born for my brother and I to go to college on. And I was able to go to my college on an academic scholarship. And even with that, I still went through those savings very quickly in order to go to college. While I was at college, though, I met multiple people who were same age, 18, 19 years old, who had taken out tens of thousands of dollars in loans so that they could go to college. Because their parents couldn't afford it. Because they couldn't afford it. Because that's what they had to do to get there. But we can't smoke or drink yet. Let that sit in real quick. Legally, before you can smoke a cigarette or drink alcohol, you can legally and are almost encouraged to take out loans to go to college. That could be anywhere from tens of thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Take out loans, go to college, get a degree, pay it off, start a family. That more or less throughout my educational career. That's what was reinforced and that what was taught. And it is not like that at all. At all. First off, when you're 18, 17, understanding how much money, even 20 grand or 10 grand is, it's difficult to understand how much money that actually is in the grand scheme. Much less 100 grand. And we're able to make these decisions before we fully mature. Everyone knows, and there is scientific evidence behind the fact that women mature faster than men. And men don't fully mature until 32. Let that sink in real quick. 32. 14 years. Almost twice as long as it took for us to be able to age to the point where we could make that decision. We will not fully mature until almost twice that long. Twice as much time has passed. If we have not fully matured and are not fully able to understand the big picture, to grasp and comprehend how our actions affect ourselves and others long term and down the line, why are we able to make such a significant decision? It sets us up to be in debt for the rest of our lives, to where we have to work until the day we die. It sets us up to effectively not have an understanding for how much money a certain amount is. Because we all just look at our phones and run our life through that these days, don't we? So why not just put another number on there to count and keep track of? Because we're already doom scrolling it every day, aren't we? My frustration in this lies in the fact that I know people who are almost in their 70s and they have hundreds of thousands in college debt. And they're barely paying the interest on it every single month. We're not taught to succeed. We're not encouraged or set up for the future. We are we're set up for failure. Because if we don't take care of ourselves, if we don't excel, if we're just a drone in the network instead of an individual who wants to make change and do better, we create more profits than if we do our own thing. Because if we do our own thing, we create competition. So I, excuse me. If there are any parents listening to this, from many, many years of arguing with mine, I plead with you, I ask of you, and I implore you to be informed with what is actually being taught to your children. And I implore you and encourage you to listen and be supportive of your children when they come home with complaints and concerns. I spent 8 years that I can remember arguing with my parents and trying to get them to understand that education wasn't the same from when they went to school, both in middle school, high school, and college. I tried for so long to get them to understand, and it wasn't even me that got them to finally understand that. It was the fact that my brother, 2 years later, started coming home with the same stories. Identical stories from different teachers, not from the same teacher, from different teachers. Identical stories. And my parents went, oh, it's just high school. It's just high school, blah, 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 this and that. It's just a high school, it'll be different when they get to college. And then we get to college. And we come back around with the same stories. Again, 2 years apart. And my parents started talking with friends of theirs. I started hearing stories from other parents that echoed the exact same thing. We're being given worksheets. We're not actually being taught anything. This class feels like a waste of time. This teacher doesn't care. This professor doesn't show up. The professor says this and then just changes it based off of whatever it is. To any parent that hears this, I would like to say to you, these are not hollow and unjust complaints from your kid. These are things that are actually happening. It's an issue that needs to be addressed. And at the end of the day, yes, you can say, well, if this education system is failing my kid, then I'm going to pay for, or I'm going to put them in an education system that doesn't. And while yes, for you and your kid, that may be the solution that's needed. That may help your kid excel. That may help your kid unlock their potential. But it also means that a lot of other kids are being left behind in that situation, where the teachers don't care, where they're just given worksheets, where what they're actually taught doesn't matter as long as their grade is above a certain level. And that's not me trying to guilt trip. That's not me trying to say that you're a bad person if you don't do something. That is me saying your concerns and you wanting the best for your child. That's not unique to you as a parent. Everyone wants the best for their child. So, shouldn't every child have the best and be given every opportunity they could want, that they deserve? So, again, if you stayed through to the end, I appreciate it. Thank you.